This is my video journal for the play Intimate Apparel. Question 1, what did you notice? What about the play was interesting? First thing I noticed about this play was how much I could relate to it as compared to the last two that we did video journals on. There really wasn't a whole lot to relate to. There were a couple parts in the story that I feel like I could relate to, so that's what I thought was interesting about this play. Question 2, what values are being represented? I think two values are trust and honesty. Esther places a lot of honesty on a stranger that writes her a letter, and then he ultimately is dishonest with her and breaks her trust. And then motivation and hard work, I think, is something else that plays a big part in this world. Esther works really hard to get herself out of a hole. She isn't given a whole lot at the beginning of the story in her life, and she makes something out of nothing essentially through her hard work. Question 3, read with a pencil. The one thing I wasn't 100% sure about was what a boarding house was. I figured it was somewhere in between an apartment and a hotel room, and that's essentially what it is. You rent it for a certain amount of time, and it is somewhat kept up. Question 4, issue of diversity. I think this play reinforces the understanding of the African American experience, and it does resist some stereotypes. I've heard people stereotype that African Americans are lazy, and this certainly would not. This would resist that because Esther is extremely hardworking, but it also reinforces that, especially 100 years ago, that African Americans aren't given a whole lot, and they usually weren't well educated, and Esther can't read or write, so this does help reinforce that African Americans, especially back in the early 1900s, weren't well educated. Do stereotypes for African Americans and other groups still exist today? Definitely. What perpetuates them? I think ignorance to other groups is what perpetuates stereotypes. I grew up in an extremely small town, not a whole lot of minorities, and there were a lot of people who perpetuated stereotypes because they hadn't really met much of the other group, and that's what helps overcome them, meeting and mixing with other groups of people to learn that the stereotypes aren't true. Ask 2 of your own questions about the play. My first question is, could you ever see yourself trusting a stranger as much as Esther did? I feel like this is an important question, especially with social media. And then 2, what do you think the point of this play was? Do you think it was to show that hard work can overcome anything? Or do you think it was about trusting someone? Or do you think it was something else? Thank you.